these are our literary elements. We're gonna start off with symbolism because we have one for that. So basically, the glass castle in itself is symbolism. It is like a plan for them, like they planned it, but like the glass castle just like symbolizes their like wealth and their prosperity. Yeah, prosperity. And like their idea, of what they want.
Their point in life that they set for themselves. Even though the parents don't work hard enough for their goals, the children learn off of the glass castle that you can set goals and work to achieve them no matter what happens.
No matter what your childhood was like.
Yeah.
I feel like the glass castle symbolizes that in their life they have so many goals set for them, like a huge glass castle that's gonna be the best in the world, but then that ends up not happening at all. So that kind of symbolizes their entire life.
The glass castle also makes all of their problems seem less prominent because it gives them something to look forward to in life.
And it's like also a sense of like forgiveness. Like whenever there's a situation going on, the dad will just pull out the blueprints to the glass castle and have all the kids work on it with him, and then that usually smooths everything over.
And it was also like a distraction from like their
like reality
times, their tough times and like the actual things in life that like all the children were delusional to that shouldn't be normal in a family. Like I felt like the glass castle was almost like their normal thing, their normal family thing that they got to share together.
Right.
So in the middle of the book, Jeanette and Brian, they start digging up
Dirt.
In their backyard,
They start digging in their backyard to build the glass castle, and they mention that to their father and mother, but then they kind of just brush it off their shoulders, say put some garbage in it, and that actually really symbolizes that the children want to move on with their lives.
More than the parents do.
Yeah.
The parents know that they're never really gonna get past
it
this.
also like makes it noticeable that it was more of a distraction for their children.
Yeah.
To hide them away from reality.
Yeah. And I think the children realize that the glass castle will probably never be built.
Yeah. Definitely like that was like definitely a turning point for like the hope.
One is what was it? Irony, because the dad was like he hated hospitals. He took Jeanette out early because he hated them so much, and then at the end of the book he ended up being in the hospital
And dependent.
and needing it, and then that's ironic. There's probably what other I feel like there's
Also, like Brian was really sick when Jeanette was in the hospital, and he wouldn't put Brian into the hospital because Jeanette was already in the hospital, and I thought that was really careless and just revealed his hate for a hospital.
Yeah.
And then he ended up needing it more than ever
Yeah.
at the end of his
And
life.
then he died. And then our last, right? It's our last one?
Yes.
Literary element is conflict. Woo! So there's man versus man versus nature.
Oh, and man versus society.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's start with man versus man. Let's start with man versus nature, because that one we were just talking about.
Okay.
So someone else want to take this?
I can do it, I guess.
Okay, go for it.
So for man versus nature, in the beginning of the book, it started off with Jeanette burning herself with the hot dogs and with the fire, and she thinks that fire just carries or follows her everywhere she goes, because then in the hotel scene once when she lit the match and flushed it down the toilet, then a few days later she woke up to the whole room with smoke. And then for most of their life traveling, they always had to worry about the seasons and how cold it was, and that always affected their life because they never had enough money to buy the right clothes for the winter time or any season really.
Yeah. Good job. Um,
Go team.
and then man versus man.
Ooh.
This one is like Jeanette versus like her parents, and
Maureen versus her mom.
yeah, when
Yeah.
she stabs her mom. So her parents are both. Her mom doesn't care about her or her siblings. All she really cares about is herself. And her dad's an alcoholic. So like, that's like, what am I? That's a problem.
They argue a lot about that.
Yeah, and
There's also a lot of conflict between the two parents. They get into
yeah.
a lot of
arguments.
fights.
Yeah.
physical
Or,
and
like,
verbal.
The mom even mentioned that she didn't plan on
Ever leaving
marrying him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like her dad kind of
him. Oh,
forced
right.
her to marry him.
Yeah,
and now
and to
she
have
doesn't want to
children.
leave him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's
She
like,
became dependent on him.
yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, she always came back. Where she did come back when she left.
But after all their fights, it's they actually always make up. They act like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
never fought.
Yeah,
Like
it never
hours
happened.
later, they'd be like back to themselves.
Mhm.
Even minutes.
Yeah,
Even like when he chased her with the car,
yeah,
Yeah.
and wanted like was
Almost
like
killed her.
killing her.
While
and she was
She was like,
pregnant.
Whatever.
She was pregnant, and
I
she
love
still
you.
forgave him.
Yeah. So
Also, Man versus Society is because of society's expectation of how the family is supposed to be,
yeah.
and how it contrasts with how they actually are. And also, when her parents, Jeanette's parents, they expect, or no, wait, who was it? Who didn't want them to give it to the less fortunate?
Oh, one of Jeanette's friends.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
the more rich characters in the book, that Jeanette befriended ended up,
After moving to New York City.
ended up being confused at her wanting to give to less fortunate.
because they
but-
didn't know her background.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she had a soft spot for that, and so that also was kind of like a society kind of thing.
Also, when Jeanette has that black friend, can I say that? Should I
Yeah,
say
yeah.
African? Okay. So when Jeanette has that
African American.
African American, when Jeanette has that African American friend, and they go swimming together, when she walks into the pool area, everyone is like uncomfortable, kind of, and
Yeah.
like she couldn't tell her family that she went because they'd be like,
They disapprove
what?
of it.
You can't do that. So, yeah.
There's also a lot of man versus self between Jeanette.
Yeah, like beating herself up about like always giving her dad money and always forgiving him and always believing in him, when in reality she knows that he's never really done anything for her or her siblings to
Mhm.
really help them out,
Yeah.
like a father should do.
Yeah, because like throughout the whole book, I feel like Jeanette's hope and delusion are what piece their family together in the beginning, and then as that starts to fall apart, so does the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like conflict within herself as she realizes like everything around her was kind of a lie. Like the glass castle was a lie, her parents getting along was a lie, her the respect for her entire family was just a lie.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, I just feel like that's an argument within herself throughout the whole book about how she doesn't realize what actually is going on in front of her and how that frustrates her.
Yeah, definitely.
I think there's also a lot of internal conflict on whether or not she should. Well, when she goes to New York, she doesn't really associate with her past very much.
Yeah, like
Like
she
she-
ignores her
yeah,
mom.
Yeah.
When
So I think
yeah.
there's a lot of internal conflict on whether or not she should. I don't
Like,
know how to say it.
Be embarrassed.
Or like
Yeah, how to feel about everything that happened. She doesn't know how to feel.
Because there's no textbook rules on how you're supposed to deal with a father that's
Exactly.
an alcoholic and
Right.
a mother that doesn't appreciate
I mean,
her birth.
like
yeah.
whether or not she should like
Move on.
yeah.
Yeah. Or if she should
has
keep her
plenty of
past.
chances.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
leaving to go to New York was a big enough chance.
Right.
Yeah,
But I mean, her family still sees each other occasionally.
yeah. Not as much as they did before the parents came out, but
Yeah.
okay. This is 7 minutes. So.
So that's a wrap.
Okay. 5 is done.